Let's talk about how to deal with data gaps in your Scope 3 emissions calculations. On the screen here, we have three different methods that we are going to go over, including average, extrapolation, and proxies. For number one, you can use the average method if you are missing data for one or several months, and you can apply an average of the months that do have data. So here you can see that we're missing waste data for May, and we can use the data from the remaining months of March, April, and June to extrapolate those blanks. The next method is extrapolation, and you can use this if you're missing data from one or several sites or product streams. For example, you can calculate intensity values from sites or product streams that already have data, and you could look at site A and site B and multiply that value based on something like the miles commuted from existing data to calculate emissions. So in the example of site C, you can see that 700 miles is the sum of site A and B. So you may assume that the waste produced from site C is a total of the total waste from sites 1 and sites 2, or any other way to use existing data that you have to estimate the emissions that you have at those other facilities. One final method we have here can be used is proxies and estimates. If neither average nor extrapolation is possible, we use proxies such as internal assumptions or industry reports. On the right-hand side, you can see that we have some example sources here that can help you estimate and extrapolate or estimate your emissions. One thing to note is that whenever you are defining and using internal assumptions, they should be based on assumptions used either from historical data, your current existing data, or proxies and estimates using public data sets like we have here. Whenever you are dealing with a data gap in Scope 3, all assumptions that you use should be clearly noted in your footprint, and you need to explain why you make that assumption and where the proxy data came from, because there may be a requirement that someone asks or someone needs to replicate these emissions calculations later on. And it's important to make sure that what you have is traceable and auditable and can be replicated by someone else within your team or at your company if needed. So those are just a few ways that you can deal with data gaps in your Scope 3 emissions.